Ew. Let's talk a little bit about all of the vocabulary that comes with this data set. So we have mean, median, mode, range, Q1, Q3, IQR, which was interquartile range. Okay, we have a lot of words. And if you look at them, they don't really mean a whole lot unless you memorize those definitions. Okay, I have some little tips and tricks to help you remember what they are and how to do them. But let me tell you why it's so important that you get comfortable with this. Because you will have your formula chart for things like area and volume formulas. You will have your formula chart for things like converting measurements. Okay, it has those little tips and tricks. But it does not come with definitions of mean, median, mode, range, Q1, Q3, IQR. You will be asked about each of these on your test, or most of them. They get to pick and choose what they're going to test you on each year, but you're responsible for knowing all of them. So when you come across a test, your test Friday, you'll have my anchor chart on the wall of these to help you. But when it comes to your STAR test, you will have nothing to help remind you. So really focus on picking up those little tips and tricks to help commit these to memory. We're going to practice with just one basic set of data. You're going to try it first, see what you remember, and then check against me. Okay? So this is your set of data. Before we do things like find the median or the range, what should you always do? Right, you need to rewrite it in order from least to greatest. Okay, and that's important because your minimum and your maximum are already on the ends. Okay, that's where a lot of people mess up on those super easy questions where it says, what is the range? And if you remember that range is your greatest number, your maximum, minus your smallest number, your minimum, and you look through and you go, I think it's 5, and you just missed that 8, you missed a super easy question because you didn't rewrite it. Okay, that sucks. So just go rewrite it. Also, you can't find your median without rewriting it. If I found my median here, I would say I need to average my 5 and my 8, but that is not the case. All right? All right, now that we've rewritten it, I want to see what you remember. So go ahead and find the mean of this set of data. All right, I remember how to find the mean because I think, oh, the mean is so mean. It's making me add everything together and divide it by the numbers I added. Okay, I know that's not a super great thing that gives you a lot of clues, but really compared to the rest of them, the mean requires the most work, so I find it kind of mean. Okay, that's using like double meanings for the word mean. If that helps you, cool. If not, try to figure out a way to remember that this means you average them. Okay, you're going to add them all together and then divide by the number of values. Okay, I can't talk and write at the same time, and that's a valuable skill that I used to have. Okay, you should have added all of these numbers together and then divided by the number of values. All right. If you remember the commutative property of addition, is that what it is? It's one of those properties of addition where you can add in any order and it won't change your answer as long as the only operation is adding. So I just like to combine them in order. That way I know I'm not forgetting any, but you could have jumped around. You could have said, I know 4 and 4 is 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay. You could have jumped around any number of ways. I just combined them and your total is 24. Okay. Make sure this is not where you stopped. This is just what I got from adding them. So part 2, you needed to go divide. Okay. You divide by the total amount of numbers or values that are in that data set. So there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So your sum divided by the amount of numbers you added equals your mean. So my mean is 4. Okay. You add them all up. It's mean because it makes you do so much work. You add them all up, divide by the numbers you added, and it's 4. Couple tips and tricks for mean. If you have a 0 in your data set, it's not going to change your sum, but you do have to include it in the amount of numbers you add or you divide by. Okay. And I forgot the other thing I was going to say, so let's hope it's not important. All right. That was our mean. You add all the numbers and divide by the number of values. Okay, next we're going to go find our median. Okay. See what you remember and go see what is the median of this data set. All right. The median means the middle. Okay. Okay, the only little trick I have to help you remember this is that out of all of those M words, okay, you need to remember that one of them means middle. And if I said, oh, because it starts with an M, well, there's 3 of them. Okay, that kind of helps, but kind of doesn't. This is the only one that has an I in it, which is also in middle. It's very obscure, but if you can remember that, if you're just like, is it the median? Is it the mean? What's the difference? Mean is mean. It makes you do a bunch of work. Median shares an extra letter with middle. Okay, it has that I. If that doesn't help at all, I apologize. But that's all I got. So it is the middle number. So we're going to go back and forth. I know I have 6 numbers, and since it's even, it's not just going to be 1 in the middle. Okay, if I have 2 marked out on the left and 2 on the right, then I know that I found my middle. Luckily, these are the same number, but if they were not, what would I have to do? Okay, if these were not the same number, I would have to go add them together and then divide by I would have to find the mean, or the average, essentially, and then divide by the amount of numbers I added, which was 2. Okay, and that would give me my median. That's why this still works. They're the same numbers, so you're going to get the same number. So my median in this case was 4. All right. If you had used your original set, you would have gotten stuck between 5 and 8. Okay. And that would have given you a very different median. Also, just to remind you, your median is that little dot that's going to be inside of the box of your box plot. All right. It's not always perfectly in the middle, but that is your median. If you're wondering, we have a Q1 and a Q3. Where's our Q2? That's what that is. It's just your median. So Q1 is the median of your bottom half. Q1 is, I said Q1, right? Q2 is the median of the whole set, and Q3 is the median of the top half. All right. And if your brain is spinning, I apologize. We will get to that later and go slower. So median, middle was 4. All right. Next, go ahead and find your mode. Okay. What is the mode of this data set? All right. Your mode is the number that is repeated the most. Okay. If you can remember mode and most. Okay. So 1 is only once, 2 is only once, 4 is repeated twice. That's also why we tell you to number them from least to greatest, regardless of if you're finding the median or not, is because if you order them from least to greatest, your mode, the repeated numbers are going to end up right next to each other. Okay, so instead of having to count them out all across your data set, right now they are right next to each other. So I have 2 4s, so my mode is 4, and there's nothing else that's repeated the same amount of time, so I only have 1 mode, and it is 4. All right, easy peasy. Let's go back on to range. All right, remember, think about what range is. Go ahead and find the range of this data set. All right, your range is your difference between your minimum and your maximum, okay? So remember, your maximum is your greatest number, and your minimum is your smallest number. Okay, that kind of goes with the words minimum and maximum. And it's the difference between, okay? So my smallest number, that's also why you order it from least to greatest, because they're already on the ends, is your 8 and your 1, okay? So I'm going to subtract 8 minus 1, and that gives me 7. So my range is 7, okay? You could also think if you're in choir or something, you can think about your vocal range, what's the lowest note you can sing, and what's the highest note you can sing comfortably and without killing eardrums. So that would be your vocal range, the difference between your highest and your lowest, okay? And to find that, for math, you subtract your maximum and your minimum. So your largest minus your smallest, okay? So our range was 7. All right, go ahead, think about what your Q1 is and how you find it. Might take you a minute, go back, look in your notes if you need to, and then we'll check. All right, Q1, Q3, okay, both of those have to do with the median. Okay, remember these 3 middle dots. You have Q1, your median, and then this is Q3, okay? So if your median of the whole set is in the middle, your Q1 is the median of your first quartile. That means that first section, so my first half. So Q1 is only looking at your bottom half, your least to the middle, The set only had 6 numbers, so I knew splitting 3 and 3 gives me about half. So from 1 to 4, what is the median of my first half of my data? I have 1, 2, and 4, so my median in the middle is 2. So my Q1, the median of my first half of data, or my first set of data, is 2. Okay? So if Q1 is the median of your first set, okay, we're going to go on to Q3. And what do you think your Q3 would be? Okay, think about it. Go solve. All right. So if Q1 was the median of that first half of your data, because remember it's 25 and 25, then your median. It's split up into those 25%. Okay. Then your Q3 is the median of that top half of data. Okay. So since I have 6 numbers, I know I can just split it 3 and 3. My top half is 4, 5, and 8. Okay. So the median of my top half is 5. So my Q3, my third quartile, the median equals 5. Okay. All right. Lastly, you might be asked about your interquartile range. Okay. So think about how would you find your interquartile range. Okay, remember how we found our normal range of the whole set? An interquartile just means inside those quartiles between your Q1 and Q3. How do you find the IQR interquartile range? All right, so remember your range is from your maximum minus your minimum. Interquartile range, IQR, is your Q3 minus your Q1. Okay, so remember our Q3 we got 5, the median of the top half. Q1 we got 2, median of the bottom half. So our interquartile range equals 3. Okay, so if they say what is your interquartile range, you'll have to go find your median of your bottom half Q3, and then the median of your top half Q1, Q3, sorry, I said it backwards, and then subtract them. You have to do all of those steps to find your interquartile range. You will mostly be asked about the rest. Your mode, your range, you'll ask, almost every STAR test has range questions. So remember how to find the difference between your maximum and minimum. Okay, if you have to pick out a box plot or build one, okay, that's why you need to know what each of these points is labeled. All right, and I'm actually going to wait to set my median until after we look at our numbers for it. Okay, so let's look at our set of data. All right, we set our minimum. Remember, our least one was 1. So if you're picking out a box plot, your minimum should be at 1 on the number line. Okay, my Q1, remember we said our Q1 was 2. Okay, what was our median? We said it was 4. Okay, so that makes sense. 1 to 2, 2, 3, 4. So this should be closer, my bad. Hiccup, sorry. Q3 is at 5. All right. So actually, our median is going to be a little bit closer to our Q3 because there's a 3 in here and then 4, 5. And then our maximum is the largest number in our set, which was 8. Okay, so if you had to pick out a box plot built on a number line, those are the numbers that you would look for the pieces to line up for. All right, if you have any other questions about your vocab or how to remember which one's which, please ask. Now go practice.